for Australia to strengthen its economic partnerships with Asia, we need to acknowledge that Australia is part of the Asian region. And the prosperity of Australia is very much dependent on the prosperity of the region. And this is becoming more and more apparent every day when you look at things like the Middle East crisis that's going on and the pressures that we're finding on supply chains, where Australia is increasingly having to go out to its Asian partners to get their assistance and vice versa. Well, it's actually quite timely that we've just had the visit of Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi to Australia, and of course we've had a raft of important agreements that have been signed between Australia and Japan. So that gives us a really good signal as to what is a priority as far as our countries are concerned. And it will come as no surprise to people that they are in the area of critical minerals, in energy, and of course defence. It's been a really interesting time in the relationship, not just economically, but from that defence and security perspective. It was super exciting a few weeks ago to see the signing of the Mogami General Purpose Frigate contract between the Department of Defence and Mitsubishi Heavy Industries and a very large number of Japanese suppliers that sit behind and to the side of Mitsubishi. And so that sort of heralded, I guess, a new era in the relationship where we're going to see more and more cooperation in the area of defence. And that, of course, underpins the security of the region and economic prosperity in the region. You probably know that my main area is assisting Japanese companies investing in Australia, and a lot of those investments happen through mergers and acquisitions. So it might be interesting to share some of the insights that we gained from our recent report, which we put out on M&A trends between Japan and Australia in the last 4 or so years. So what we've seen in the last 4 or so years following COVID is there's been a really good uptick in terms of the activity. And so we are sort of back nearing sort of the record highs that we saw in M&A a few years back. The industry sectors that have been of most interest to Japan have been around technology, minerals and resources, particularly in iron ore and critical minerals that we've just discussed, and also in energy and energy transition. The other main area that we've seen a lot of investment has been in real estate, and there's been a lot of new Japanese companies as well as existing investors from Japan who've been growing their investments and portfolios in real estate. We sort of see that continuing. One of the interesting trends in the investment is that Japan continues to favour a joint venture model. So you'll probably be familiar with the traditional joint ventures that Japan has invested in or through in the mining industry historically. But we now see that across all of the sectors. So real estate being another really great example of that, where we often see a lead Japanese investor coming in to a project in Australia, and they'll bring along maybe 2 or 3 other Japanese investors who may be new to Australia or are just starting to kind of build out their investments and portfolios here. So we see that as something that will continue, and we think that's a really positive thing. It means that Japan continues to partner very effectively with Australian and local businesses, and so they are able to utilise the insights and the skills, the capabilities of those local businesses, at the same time bringing in their expertise and their capital from Japan. So exciting times ahead, I think, for the investment relationship. There are some really strong natural links between Australians and Asia, including through the growing Asian diaspora living in Australia. And I think what's really important for Australia to capitalise on the opportunities to partner with Asia is to really tap into that Asian diaspora in Australia and their expertise and their skills, and to really value that and to utilise that to leverage and grow its partnerships in Asia. I think that's something that we don't really do well yet, and there's been a lot of, I think, thought leadership over the last 10 years, I'm going to say, where that has constantly been put up to the public to sort of appreciate. But I think now is probably the time, as the region sort of grows closer, the need to cooperate and the need for friendships across the region become more and more important. That's something that we can really be leaning into and utilising.